Oh, who cares? Hello and good morning and welcome to everyone for joining us today. Thank you so much. Today we are joined by naturopath Leanne Jenkins, and we are going to be really delving into the wonder that is molecular hydrogen. Leanne has been a naturopath for many years and is well renowned in her field of excellence. And so we're super excited to jump in today and talk about this buzzword that I know I am seeing all over the place. So I thought it was really timely that we jump on board with Leanne and just really unpack molecular hydrogen, what it is, how it comes to be, and the benefits that it can give us. So if you have any questions, please let us know, and we can field them as and when they come through. And yeah, welcome to you, Leanne. It's so lovely to see you.
Thank you, Mon. Thank you, Cara, for this opportunity to have a chat about one of my favourite topics, that's for sure. And you are so correct, Mon. Molecular hydrogen is just seriously a buzzword or two words at the moment because it's everywhere. Everyone's talking about it. And there's so much information on it out there. And if you do a deep dive on it, it can get a little bit overwhelming actually, because there's so much and there's so much to know about it. So hopefully I can not necessarily dumb it down, but just make it more accessible in terms of what people would probably like to know about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one of the things that I'm curious about is, how have you seen experiences with people change since after sort of using molecular hydrogen? Or actually, maybe we should start with what is it first?
All
Let's
right,
go
let's
there.
go right back to science days. You may even remember back in school, because this is how far we're going back. So, do you remember the periodic table?
Yes.
Yay! Most people go, no. All right. So, number one is hydrogen. Okay. So it is the smallest molecule that we're aware of, or the smallest element that we're aware of. So it has this amazing ability to dissolve through a lot of things. So even if you have it in water and you have a plastic water bottle, it will dissolve out of your plastic water bottle.
Oh, wow.
It will even move through steel.
Wow. That's
Yes.
amazing.
It has a half-life when you put it into water as a gas. And a half-life of, I think it's somewhere between 3 and 6 hours. So you could fill your water bottle at the start of the day. Now, if you're not drinking that by the end of your day, less than half of your hydrogen that started there is going to be in there by the end.
Mm.
And this is where it can come into importance when people are buying off the supermarket shelves. They're buying hydrogen water. So the way a lot of companies get around it is they'll actually say, at the time of production, it contained this much hydrogen.
Yeah.
Mm.
So by the time it probably gets to, the average consumer, there won't be that much hydrogen in it.
No, particularly when they're sort of sitting on shipping containers for sometimes weeks, months, longer, who knows, really?
Market shelf.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
Yeah, shells out the back. Yeah.
So from a perspective of hydrogen being a gas, what we want to be able to do is put that gas into the water. And that happens when we use electrolysis and we pop the water over electrified plates, and the water molecule, which is H2O, splits into a single hydrogen and an OH molecule. So the free little hydrogen then has the ability to cross a lot of membranes in our cell and work from a health perspective within the cells, and it penetrates to a level that normal hydrogen, two hydrogens and oxygen or water just can't. So there's a beautiful anti-inflammatory effect. It's not a, it's and an antioxidant effect. So it's not an antioxidant itself, but the effect of having it in the cell is an antioxidant.
Right. Okay.
So what we don't want is, you know, a lot of people take antioxidants these days, but that's not necessarily the way we want to work it. And I once had a neurobiologist describe taking antioxidants as choosing to use, you know, the SAS within the body from a fighting machine, or Dad's army. So if you're taking antioxidants all the time, you're using Dad's army protecting your body. Whereas if you put in something like hydrogen, it acts more like an SAS team, because it actually modulates as it works in the body, rather than having the same effect of, say, an antioxidant tablet. Take the antioxidant tablet. I can see Kara's frowning there, so I need to clarify my talking here. So if you take an antioxidant on a consistent basis, the effect to the body is like having Dad's Army. Now, Dad's Army was a TV show back in the, probably before your time, so that might be.
I think that's
the reference.
I think that's where I'm lost. I'm like,
yeah, okay. So anyway, it was a bumbling lot of British guys, and it was set in World War II, and they were basically the home guard, and they were all about 70 years old, and it was hilarious. Anyway, their bumbling antics of how they were protecting England. Okay, so that's, whereas if you thought of an SAS team and how competent they would be, that would be having molecular hydrogen come into your cells and come in and modulate and balance how they have an antioxidant effect versus taking an antioxidant.
Yeah, so like the antioxidant is just kind of touching the sides, just like a little bit of a band-aid kind of effect, touching the sides, whereas the molecular hydrogen is going on a much deeper level.
It's almost like taking the antioxidant overworks the whole process, therefore weakening the whole process, whereas the molecular hydrogen has more of a balancing effect, or what we call homeostasis. So it's a more balancing effect on the workings of the cell.
And so Leanne, so I imagine the molecular hydrogen would enable the body to work more optimally, as opposed to, you know, yes,
definitely.
And it's a more natural way to do it too.
Well, it is, yeah. Because, you know, hydrogen is everywhere in the world, but to actually be able to put it into our cells, well, we do have it in our bodies, which a lot of people don't realize anyway, and it gets made by our gut and bowel bacteria when we eat fiber. Now, society has kind of increased the amount of processed foods, and ultimately the fiber that we take now is a lot less. So I think Australia, I was on a conference last night, and they were saying Australia's fiber per day is about 20 grams, righto? America's is about 16. I think, you know, if you're in Africa, it's about 35 to 40. but your ultimate is at least 50. Okay. Now, when you put that amount of fiber in your bowel and your gut, the bacteria that are there, when they break that fiber down with, some with fatty acids in that, the side effect is hydrogen production, which goes out into our bodies and into our cells, righto? Now, the thing is, because we're so deficient in the fiber, we don't get the hydrogen production that we would normally make anyway. So our benefit, or our side benefit, is definitely having it in the water. So ultimately, we're lifting our level of hydrogen that we want in the body.
That's awesome.
Okay. Yeah. So does that help? Does that make things a little bit clearer about what it is?
Absolutely. That was wonderful. That was a great description. And so what have you noticed? So what are the changes that you've noticed in people once they've started drinking this molecular hydrogen?
Well, one of the reasons why it works is it actually penetrates our actual cell membranes, right? So it actually is such a small molecule, it can penetrate into the actual cells. And where it goes is it goes to the mitochondria. Now, okay, I think cells was a year 7 science topic. So, well, maybe year 8, but let's go back to that. So mitochondria are actually our energy factories for our cells, and or also known as energy storehouses. So when they don't work well, we have fatigue. Okay. So one of the first things I notice with people is their energy goes up. Okay. And that is so important because long term, if you don't have ideal mitochondrial working, it's now looked at that there's a huge link between poor mitochondrial function and the initiation of the cancer process.
Wow.
Okay. So very, very important to get it right on a cellular level. And that's where all the changes start. So first thing I would always notice is people's energy goes up. Second thing, and it may not be an energy like energize a bunny kind of energy. It's more like, oh my gosh, I had a late night, but I'm feeling good. Oh my gosh, I'm under the pump, but I can still keep going. Oh my gosh, I didn't sleep well, but hey, I haven't had to have a nap. I've just got to the end of the day and gone, man, righto.
Yeah, I can absolutely vouch for that. Yeah.
It's
I've seen,
rather than energize a bunny kind of energy. Yeah.
It's not like a caffeine hit. It's not like that. It's just that, it's kind of like I've had late nights where I normally go to bed earlier, but since drinking the water, I'm cool. I can get through it. My brain's still working at an optimal level.
Okay, let's explore that from a point of view, because that's another thing, Cara, that people say is they think with more clarity or more focus. And part of that is that hydrogen molecule actually crosses the blood-brain barrier, which and hydrates the brain to a whole new level. So that normally doesn't happen to the same level with normal water. Okay, because the blood-brain barrier is designed for things not to cross it, really. To keep out toxins and all that sort of nasty things that we don't want going into the brain as a protective way of looking at it. But it does help the brain hydrate to a whole new level.
And just on that, so what have you noticed when you've noticed clients having toxins leaving their body? Like, what could people look out for? Like, is there like a detox kind of symptom that would happen when you start to drink a lot of this water?
One of the things that happens too with the water is, well, there's a couple of things. if you're getting more water in, what it enables the cell to do is actually push more stuff out. Okay. Now, so sometimes what's described as a Herxheimer reaction happens, and that could be that too much has been moved out of the body, and the detox processes via the liver, via the kidney, via the skin, via the bowel, and even the lungs are overwhelmed. And so people might feel like, oh my gosh, I just feel nauseous, or I've got a headache, or bowel is a really good one, because what can happen there is the bowel just voids. So you get diarrhea, or it gets a little bit explosive. But the other thing that happens with the water is, let me go back a step. Over our life, what we tend to have happen in our bowel is in that tube, you get a bit of an incrustation of fecal matter, righto? And that can be also in the form of a film, righto? And that's called a biofilm, okay? Now, when we have this water, what it tends to do is it tends to break down that layer. So often when people first are on the water, they'll do some poos like they might be a little bit diarrhea, or they might be a little bit explosive, or they are just darker, because that level of incrustation is actually being broken down and eliminated. So one of the doctors in Japan who helped to design the colonoscopy procedure, what he does is he loves to have his clients on molecular hydrogen water to start, because it helps to keep the bowel cleaner. Now, if in preparation for a colonoscopy, so what also happens though is if he finds polyps or something in the bowel and has to surgically remove them, if he gets them on the water after that, they don't tend to have regrowth of polyps in the bowel.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So that, to me, is enough to as another thing. So, you can have that whole clearance through the bowel of your old fecal and biofilm matter that starts to come out. That's one of the ones. That's probably the main thing I would say. Yeah, because in terms of other things with what I've seen from a benefit point of view, like softer skin is another big one besides energy that I always see, and reflux disappearing.
Yeah, I know my other half, he suffered reflux for so long, and he just doesn't have it anymore.
It's just amazing, reduction of pain is another big one, especially with people with rheumatoid arthritis. They really, really notice a difference. And because there's a reduction of, inflammation, and a lot of your oxidation kind of situation is being mopped up, that helps with the pain reduction. I've seen enhancement of healing post-surgery. That's, taking the water into hospital and watching the difference. That was interesting. Decrease of blood sugar is another big one. Like people having blood sugar above 6 and then drinking water, and it brings the blood sugar under 6. Reduction of allergy symptoms is another big one. So that's a pretty popular one as well, because overall the world is actually increasing in their allergy symptoms, and we could go down a whole big rabbit hole with that as to why that's happening. But it certainly makes a difference with drinking water from that perspective.
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm. I'm keen to get my dad drinking it more because he has severe type 2 diabetes.
Yep.
I feel like that leveling of blood sugar levels, yeah, that would be really beneficial for him.
Oh, definitely.
And my
And
mum has the IBS, she's got diverticulitis, and she started drinking it, and the first 3 days, she just had a clear out of her bowels.
yeah.
Mm.
And it's really interesting, Cara, because when you do a dive on the research, and when I talk about research, like this, I don't know, the last I looked, there, different people will talk about anywhere between 1,400 and 2,000 research studies that have been done on PubMed when you look for it, okay? And gastrointestinal improvements on the functionality of the gut and the bowel are some of the most popular studies. So yes, it would be a wonderful thing for your mum. But with your dad, you really have to be aware that the blood sugar can happen. I've had one lady, she just drank it over a weekend and her blood sugar changed. So we're talking 2 or 3 days and it changed. So yeah, it's amazing.
Mm.
So simple.
Yeah, it is. It's so simple, and all the different things it can do to just balance out your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Anita actually had a question about something with herself when she started drinking it.
I just had a reduction in swelling, which so I suffer with rheumatoid arthritis and autoimmune with fibromyalgia. So yeah, there's a lot going on. But I noticed that pain increased a little bit, only due because the swelling was coming down in those areas that my immune system were trying to get rid of whatever was there. But I felt it quite like contradictory that I'm drinking all this water, but my swelling was going down, because swelling is actually water build up of fluids. So I found it very interesting that that was happening. Pain levels are starting to come back down after a few weeks, but yeah, I sort of dived deep into why it was happening. So it's interesting.
If you think about from a swelling point of view, and you've got an inflammation situation, what you've always got is you've got a cell and you've got intracellular water. Okay, so intracellular being inside a cell. Then you have extracellular. So you've got water outside your cell. So in an inflammation situation, what you've got is an increase of outside water because it can't get in there.
Yeah.
And what happens is that water then increases what's going on in the intracellular matrix. So you get a swelling effect. So the moment you start giving the body some hydrogen molecular water, you've got that anti-inflammatory kind of, let's put out the fire kind of situation. But what you're allowing too is the water then to cross into the cells. Right. So what that allows then is the body to actually release extra water via urine. And you've got a decrease of overall extracellular fluid then. But an increase of intracellular fluid at the same time.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. So there's a process with that. It's obviously not as fast as a blood sugar process. But what would happen is for that swelling to come down, the swelling is going to give you the pain. So in the process of hydrating that cell better, dampening down that inflamed response, you're still moving through a pain.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense to me. It just felt contradictory to start with, that I was drinking, water, swelling coming down, but I'm putting more fluids in.
Yeah.
And looking at the mechanics of what happens with swelling to reduce pain that you've sort of got.
Mhm.
And then when the swelling comes down, the pain sort of increases. But I've noticed that with the molecular hydrogen water, the pain's starting to decrease slower.
Mhm.
More quicker as I drink it, the more I
Yeah.
drink it. So yeah, I guess it's just I'm seeing it as more of a detox process. And the swelling that I've been having is like over 10 years in the making. So I'm not expecting it to go away in 2 or 3 days. So yeah, I'm
And I
just
could,
amazed at how quickly it's going so far. So
oh, look, and I could add something into the mix then if for extra things for the fibromyalgia pain. So
thank you.
you can have that. In fact, I'll tell you right now.
Okay.
So liquid cat's claw should make a difference to your pain with your fibromyalgia, often within 24 to 48 hours.
Okay. I will look into that one. Thank you.
2 mils twice a day. Don't
Thanks.
stop after 3. Keep going. You need to have at least 3 months in you.
Okay.
Then that, with your molecular hydrogen, because it's going to penetrate your cells to a faster rate, you are going to get an amazing result.
Interesting. Thank you.
I will love your feedback.
Yes, I will get onto that one. I might need to get a specific brand that you prefer.
I'll put
Yeah,
you.
well, look,
Yeah.
yeah, liquid herbs,
That's right.
Um, I myself is not the same as you. I suppose everybody's different, aren't they? But I noticed I had kind of dry lips and a dry mouth, and I was the same as Anita in that respect. I'm like, but aren't I hydrating myself?
Yeah.
Aren't I hydrating myself? So why am I getting, you
Dry.
know, the dry lips and mouth? And then I realized it was actually my body's sign of detoxing whatever was inside of me. And now it's gone. Like now I don't have that anymore.
Did you find too, when you first initially started drinking the water, it was like, oh my gosh, I can't get enough of it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
My husband actually
because all of a sudden it's actually getting in. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it takes that level of penetration into your cells to a whole new level. And the body's like, oh my God, give me more. Actually, here's a really good story for you. I had this client, she comes in, and I said to you, you've been taking your supplements. And she said, well, no. And I said, well, what's going on? And she said, I can't. Oh, why can't you? She said, I can't drink the water to swallow the supplements. And I said, well, why can't you drink the water? And she said, I can't drink water. I vomit it. And I went, oh, okay. So I sent her home with 2 liters of molecular hydrogen water. And she rang me the next morning and she said, I've drunk all the water and it stayed down.
Wow.
And she said, okay, sign me up. I want a machine that makes molecular hydrogen because that will change my world. And it has. It's really changed her world.
Wow, she would be so dehydrated. She can't
Oh,
down.
and she said that had been going on for most of her life.
Wow.
Yeah, so her health is just totally different now.
Mm.
That's insane.
Mm.
I had an interesting one last week, and she came in and she'd just been overseas, and before she left, she had to boil her water. And if she boiled her, she couldn't drink tap water. And even if it was slightly filtered, she couldn't really drink it because it made her tongue tingle. Then what happened is if she boiled it, she could drink it. So not sure what was disappearing with turning into a gas, maybe some of the chemicals, I'm not too sure. Went overseas, couldn't drink the bottled water while she was there. Was traveling, so she couldn't always boil water. So she's got home and not feeling very good. So I said to her, look, take home a couple of liters, see how you go. Now, I flipped her a message later that night and said, have you tried the water? And she said, so far, so good. So I've got to just message her back and find out how she went with the rest of the 2 leaders to see what the difference is. So there's a couple of extra factors there, because the water I gave her was also filtered for chlorine and fluoride as well. So whether she has a sensitivity to either of those, I don't know, but the water would have been penetrating her cells to a whole new level. Yeah. So we want to watch this space.
And I think that's just the absolute, like, incredible nature of this machine that I'm learning more and more about each week and falling in love more and more with. Because I've always been really, well, not always, I've been water conscious for probably the last 6 years and been on a real water journey. And, you know, I did a lot of study and my own research into, you know, what chlorine was doing to our bodies when we were intaking that, and what fluoride can do as like to our brain and whatnot. And so I got a whole house water system put on at our home, and that was back in Victoria. We've moved to New South Wales now, so I moved that with us, the water system. And then I realised that it wasn't actually taking the fluoride out to the right level. So I got an under the sink reverse osmosis.
Yeah.
And then I found out from one of my really amazing health conscious friends that the reverse osmosis was great. It was taking all the bad stuff out, but it was taking all the good stuff out too. And so I was actually drinking dead water. And
Well,
so,
I understand where you're going, and that was my thinking too. But I've just come across some new information that maybe that is not actually correct.
right.
Yeah. So what we've been told for years is that reverse osmosis is dead water in terms of not having any minerals in it or anything like that. And so what it does though is what minerals would be there would be inorganic that our bodies can't use. Okay. So because the minerals that come from water are from, you know, the water going over rocks and that sort of thing. So it picks up the minerals that are inorganic from there. Okay. They're not the ones that we can utilize in our body anyway. So there's been a new way of thinking about reverse osmosis and about distilled water as well. So yes, knowledge I think has to change from that point of view.
Right. So there are still minerals available. There are still minerals, but they're not maybe at a point that can actually cross over into our bodies properly.
Yes, and the other thing is too, the amount of minerals that you're getting from water is pretty minuscule. Anyway.
Yeah.
So reverse osmosis is the best way of filtering fluoride. And I think one of the keys for anyone who gets a machine is to pre-filter. And I think if you don't have pre-filters on, especially if you're on town water, one, you're still going to be subjected to some chlorine, and you're still going to be subjected to fluoride because fluoride is such a small molecule.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we had down to just clarify with you, like what pre-filters, you know, do you recommend, you know, for that process?
Yeah. Look, I've gone with Martin Ball, but your Kangen water guy filters. I have a reverse osmosis on I have 2 Kangens. I have one at work and I have one at home. The one at work has your Kangen water guy filters for chlorine and for fluoride on it. And the system at home runs through our reverse osmosis and then through the Kangen. Okay, so I'm quite okay with that happening. I was going to change it out though, Cara, because I was thinking the dead water thing and that sort of thing. So it was only some research I came across this morning, seriously, that I went, okay, I need to relook at this. So I can keep you in the loop when I explore that totally thoroughly, but that's what's possibly not correct. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, yeah, because sorry, Mon, I was thinking that like I've still got the reverse osmosis sitting under there, but it had lost its gas, so we had to
Oh.
get a new part for it, which I'm not sure how much that was going to cost. But we then went, oh, this is a sign. Let's just go get the Kangen water machine. It's amazing. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And so we've got that attached to our tap now with the whole house water filter on. So there are, you know, chlorine's definitely out. Lots of other, like, you know, we're in a small country town where there's lots of pesticides and things used around all the farms around us and everything. So it's definitely taking all that out, which is great because it's also, you know, the water that we wash our clothes in, our dishes in, wash our hands, you know, the bath, all of that is being covered through that, which is awesome. But yeah, I was thinking about actually getting a fluoride filter instead of fixing my under the sink reverse osmosis.
Yeah. And look, so I still need to explore that more to find out more about it. But there was just that glimpse where this researcher said, you know, the way of thinking is not necessarily what we've been told about it being dead or distilled being awful, that they were basically furfies. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And I think, and would you agree, Leanne, like if someone's watching this replay and they are, you know, they don't have a lot of awareness around what's in the water or anything like that, and they're just starting to learn this now, like having a Kangen ionizer is a massive upgrade on its
massive,
own.
huge.
Yeah. Like if you were just to have that as a start, you know, it does take out some of the chlorine, it does take out some of the heavy metals, and that as a start is a massive upgrade in the start of your water journey. Would you agree?
Well, I don't know that it actually takes out heavy metals. The filter in it is what they call a COT filter. It takes out color, it takes out odor, and it takes out taste. So heavy metals really have to go out via a whole different level of filtration. And so, yes, get your Kangen, but boy, get your pre-filtration as soon as possible on top of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I see where Mon's coming from as well, is that some people are just drinking tap water. Like they literally, there's nothing, they've got no filter, nothing, just tap water.
Yeah.
But at least I suppose they're filtering something through the K8, and they're also obviously restructuring their water, like we're talking about, and creating that molecular hydrogen, which they weren't doing before. So that's all
whole new world. But if you're looking at long-term health, which is, I think, why people would invest, you know, you don't invest in a K8 just for a year. You're looking at the long term. You've got a machine that's going to, you know, you look after that, and you've got something that's going to last you 20 to 30 years. So when you're looking at long-term health with the machine, yeah, definitely get your filtration happening as soon as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Started with a K8. You've got a level of filtration. I don't think it does the heavy metals though. And then you have got that beautiful hydrogen in your water as well.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
It has been so lovely to have you here today, Leanne. Thank you so much for all of your wisdom and your wealth of knowledge. I particularly really enjoyed the talk about the rheumatoid arthritis and the fibromyalgia and all of that. I found that really, really beneficial, and I know that there are people in my world that are going to benefit from that. So thank you for sharing. And I'm sure that, you know, if there is anyone else that has any questions after watching this, to get in touch with, you know, Leanne, Cara, myself, and we can certainly help you along your water journey. Is there anything else that either of you would like to add?
Just double check. I don't think so.
Oh, can I just add something?
Of course.
Anyone who's got their machine, please, please, please stay on track with your e-cleaning, and also with like doing a deep clean once a year. I'm actually, just with some interesting information I came across, I'm actually thinking even about e-cleaning every 2 weeks.
Yeah, okay. I do e-clean about every 2 weeks, so
Do
that's good.
you? Yeah.
Yes.
Because if you let those plates build up with any level of minerals coming through from the water, it will stop the amount of molecular hydrogen being produced that should be produced. So yes, you're drinking a cleaner water and that sort of thing, but what you're thinking you're getting the benefit of is not necessarily as great as it could be. So make sure you clean your machine. That's definitely the way to go.
Yeah. It's going to help the longevity of your machine, and then obviously make sure you're getting
Absolutely.
optimal benefits. Yeah.
Longevity of your machine, longevity of you, because your mitochondria are going to work better.
Mm.
I love that.
Oh, we've got another question.
One question quickly before we go. With the filters and things like that, you know how you can get filters that actually filter out a lot of the heavy metals and things like that, and you've got like your carbon balls and things like that in the filters that put stuff back into the water. Can you filter the molecular hydrogen water? So if you've, okay, I'm trying to explain it. Sorry. So if you've got, say, a filter canister, can you fill that canister with the molecular hydrogen water for it to filter anything else that you don't want in the water, and that molecular hydrogen stay intact? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. I don't know what type of filter would you be trying to put that through, because I would do filtration prior to the molecular hydrogen, because you've got such, I don't know structurally, because it's such a gas, you lose it very easily.
Right.
And I just don't know, like filtering after the process, what that would do. I'm sure there'd be research on it somewhere. It's not something I've come across.
It just came to me when you were talking about filtration. Like, oh, can you do
No, I'd do it prior to that. Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. And
Yeah, they were
another filtration guy, naturopath Nate, and he with his knowledge, he decided that he wanted to go into filters, so he was happy with what was being filtered out.
Right.
So I'd be also very comfortable with having a filter from him too.
Yeah, I was looking at getting a fluoride one through him,
right.
because it's got other amazing things in there too that just helps the health of the water before it reaches your machine. Yeah. And I think we spoke about not long ago, actually, my mum had a question about putting it through a soda stream.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because my dad is all about things needing bubbles. And it does actually lose a bit of the molecular hydrogen going through there, so could be quite similar to that.
And look, even the temperature can make a difference. You know, putting the water in the fridge. So,
a lot of difference.
I'd like to see the research on that.
Yeah.
And is it a beneficial? Is it a beneficial? No. So okay, so keep it more at room temperature.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. That's really good to know.
And the drinking of any sort of water should ultimately be room temperature too, because it works better in the body that way. Otherwise, there's a change in what the body has to do. It puts a greater burden on them.
Yeah, I did know that. Yeah, it has to be room temp.
There you go. I did that.
Yeah, hydrates easier.
Here I am
at room
drinking
temp.
cold water.
Well, now you know.
But I did see somewhere that if you use the 11.5 pH and make that into ice, then that ice could help with acidic drinks. Read that somewhere.
Yeah, I'll have to read that one. I haven't come across that one. Yeah, that'd be great to know where you found that though.
Well, thank you so much, Leanne. We'll wrap it up there. We respect your time, so we'll let you get back to your day. Thank you again. And if anyone has any questions, reach out to Leanne Jenkins, Cara Monteith, or myself, and we would be happy to help you along your water journey.
Thank you, girls. It's been
Thank you.
great.